But a lot of the assumptions really get changed when people go, let's talk about this. But it requires a climate where it's safe. How many of you have worked in a place that practiced psychic decapitation? Stick your neck out, we cut your head off. Yeah. And if you work in a place where somebody hands your head once a week, you learn to keep your head down. And then in that kind of place, it's not safe to raise things like this. But what we've seen over and over again, and this really goes back a significant amount of time. A guy named Chris Argyris was writing about this in the 70s. And a lot of what I'm sharing with you, by the way, is from the business literature, where people are trying to figure out how to get change to work. And Chris was one of those people who was trying to get change to work. And what he said is, if your strategic plan isn't working, it may well be the assumptions that you've made that are embedded in it. And all of you have organizations engaged in strategic planning, but have they surfaced the assumptions that are underneath it? Have they looked at what's underneath it? If I assume everyone is employable, more people will be employed. If I assume that everybody has preferences and desires and we can discover what they are, I will be successful. If I assume that communities will accept and value the people that we support, much more likely to be successful. And if we realize things like, want a friend, get a job, that a lot of our work at Community Connecting is so damn hard because we don't have people spending time with each other where each one has a valued role. And people spend enough time to get past the adherence. We are hardwired to look at the packaging. There's a ton of research. One of the favorite things that new psychologists who are in academic environments do is they do this little experiment, and they always use freshmen because they're free. And they'll take freshmen and they'll show them a series of faces, and they'll say which faces are associated with smarter people. And people will select their version of attractive, whatever your image of physically attractive is. You will assume that people who are physically attractive are smarter. You will assume that people who meet some criteria of physical attractiveness are better. And yet, if you think about it, your perception of people's appearance changes with your knowledge. Because physical appearance is the packaging. And when you see a pretty package, you go, oh, look at that shiny foil and that nice ribbon. Ooh. And when you open it up and discover it came from a doll, the wrong end, you go, oh, ugly package. And the same thing happens in relationships. You start out with an opinion based on appearance, and then your perception changes as you get to know the person. And when you discover that this person is just brilliant and awesome, however you saw them before tends to change. And often what we're trying to do in the community is help people get past their assumptions about the people that we're working with. Because you're working with people where you go, he is so awesome. He's so amazing. But how do we get people past that? Worked with a guy named James, different James, agency in North Carolina, and supports him, and he gets around in a wheelchair, and about the only thing he will do to engage with you is if he's having a really good day, he'll thumb wrestle with you. And we were having a meeting where they were asking me to teach how do you connect people. And I said, well, one of the ways you connect people is to discover what you value in that person. What do you value? What do you see in that person that makes you want to be with them? And this was a group of managers, all of whom knew James. And what we discovered is when they were having a bad day, they would go hang at James's house. When the executive director couldn't find the manager, typically James's house. I said, well, what are you doing? Just hanging with James? And what we figured was James brings people spiritual peace. There's something about him that just kind of makes people mellow out. And we said, well, where would that gift be appreciated? People said, church. I said, okay, so you're going to take them to church? See how that works? Got to try stuff. Learn from it. And so, yep, we're going to take them to church. And the first church they took them to was the church of the call and response. We have a liturgy and a ceremony, and people are supposed to, kneel and stand and say the way the liturgy works. And James, when he's happy, starts going, woo, woo, woo. James liked it in this place, so he's starting to woo. And people in the church are going, it is not time to woo. So they said, oh, didn't work. Took him to church, it didn't work. I said, well, are there other churches? This is North Carolina. Are there other churches? I said, do you know anybody who goes to the church of when the Spirit moves me? And they said, oh yeah, half our staff. I said, well, what if you took him there? What if you tried to get it? So James is at the end of a few staff persons sitting next to him because we're just introducing him. And service starts going, James starts kind of getting into it, starts to woo. And the person sitting next to the staff person goes, why is he doing that? And the staff person says, because he likes it here. He likes what's happening. The guy said, go ahead. And then he said, why'd you bring him? And the staff person says, well, James seems to bring people spiritual peace, and we thought this is a setting where people might like that. And this fellow's eyes got bigger, and he said, you mean the Spirit dwells in him? And the staff person said, oh no. Just know he brings spiritual peace. We love hanging with him. And that parishioner, that member of that congregation starts nudging the other people. The Spirit dwells in him. He took on this amazing stature. People wanted to spend time with him. And I don't know if the Spirit dwells in him. I don't even know what that would look like. Except maybe it looks like James. Don't know. But people got past the packaging. People wanted to spend time with him. And when they did spend time with him, they said, wow, hanging with him mellows you out. Uh-huh. But it's that figuring that out, suspending the assumption, and looking at challenging the assumption when whatever you're doing isn't working. And going, we need to do more than just adjust strategy. We really need to think about this in a whole different way. And we talked about this, so I'm going to skip it. But look at this, and the text is tiny. But this gets into this issue of you have to be looking at those underlying assumptions, and then you have to look at how they work through your system. When people come to you, what are you trying to learn about? When you look at your intake, I mean, you have to make sure they're eligible, and eligibility is always based on what you can't do. But once they're eligible, you're looking at what their gifts are. Are you looking at potential contributions? Are you looking at capabilities? When you're doing planning, are you thinking about who should contribute to the plan from the standpoint of who loves the person, who cares about the person? Are you thinking about it from the standpoint of we need to spend time looking at how the person wants to live, what choices they would make, what experiences they might have? All of that goes into that planning meeting rather than just tunnel vision on health and safety. And the next functional step. I remember talking to somebody looking at their goal, and it says here, you need to learn how to iron. And I was going, damn, it's a lost art. Any of you know how to iron? How many of you know how to iron? How many of you actually iron? Some people are still lost in that world where they go, ironing is good for the soul. I am so glad they make shirts that don't need to be ironed. How many of you have had friends, if they're not you, who have discovered that you don't need to know how to cook? Younger people that are being hired are going, why cook? We have a microwave. Or they define cooking by microwave. And you, of course, have those people who go, no, I cook. But so does your plan get into what the person would like to do? Or does the plan get into what the system would like the person to do? When we look at what's happening, one of the areas when I'm working with systems that we try to really hone in on is the people who come and do inspecting have a great influence over what you document, how you spend your time. Are they looking for the stuff we want them to look for? Are they looking for, do people have lives? Do people have outcomes that make sense for them as people? Or what is it that they're looking for? So assumptions kind of spill all the way through the system. And if you look at the way assumptions work, they spill into mission, vision, and values as well. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. In fact, pretty much up to lunch. Mission, vision, values. And you've all got them. As I said earlier, in most agencies, they're hanging on the wall when you walk into the reception area. But if I walk into one of your houses, if I walk into one of your day services and I ask somebody doing direct support, could they tell me vision, mission, values? So one organization I work with has this. People are empowered to live valued and respected lives in their communities in a web of reciprocal relationships. Their vision. Their mission, everything we do supports people to live the lives they choose with the people they love in their communities. And then their values. Listening, respect, collaboration, innovation, and flexibility. So you need to think about, do we have a vision and mission that really supports the direction that we want to go? And do people know it? And do we live it? One of the strongest determinants of whether change is successful is, does the behavior of leadership model the outcomes you desire? Or is leadership coming in saying, I told you to be respectful, damn it. So if you feel disrespected, you will not be respectful. Are we modeling the behavior? And do the people know what this means for their work?